We're here to talk today about a partnership that we have with Google called Accenture Managed Services for GCP. Joined here with my colleagues, Firas Ghantous.
Hello.
And Matthew Abernathy. We'll kind of go through the solution, how it fits in the marketplace, what's been the client demand that we're seeing for this with cloud providers, and especially with Google and GCP, and why both ourselves and Google are very excited about this partnership and the kind of new ideas and things that we can offer to the enterprise that wasn't necessarily as available as an option before for them. So let's move right into it, Matt. Thanks. We've been working for quite some time with enterprise customers on their journey to cloud. And I wanted to talk about how this kind of fits into that, because a lot of the enterprise customers, over the last 4 to 5 years, they've been spending a lot of time on the left-hand side of this chart, actually working up their strategy, their assessment, their roadmap, and coming up with a business case. And many times in that business case, it includes, what are we going to migrate? When are we going to migrate? What are the priorities? What are we moving to? Are we moving these applications to infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service? When is part of the business case, which is always a big block in the business case, could we potentially get out of some of our data centers and get rid of some of those assets? Wouldn't it be nice if we can move everything we're doing to more of an OpEx flexible model where we can be off of what we're doing from a CapEx perspective? And those are usually big ticket items in the business case. And on the right-hand side of the slide here, really, now that we're actually thinking about moving to cloud and doing things in the cloud, what could we do and leverage in the industry around managing operations? So a lot of things that Accenture has done with clients is on the slide. These are the services that we provide to clients. And as part of that, Accenture, we've been on a journey as a company ourselves to leverage cloud technologies for our own IT uses within our own corporation, right? We're a 450,000 person global company. As you can imagine, quite a bit of IT to run our own business, right? And so we've been on a journey the last 7 years of moving the majority of everything Accenture does from an IT perspective to the cloud. And I believe we're over 95% in the cloud today as a company. And by the way, that was written in our strategy and our business case over 7 years ago, right? And all of the tools and things that we've built around strategy, business case work for our own company, and migration tools and migration factory, we took all those and have turned those into things that we bring to customers as part of services. And what we're here to talk about today is the one down on the far right there. We actually had built through time what we call Accenture's Application Optimized Private Cloud. I know it's a mouthful, but it's Accenture's private cloud. And we offer and sell that to customers so they could actually run private cloud infrastructure run and managed by Accenture, and we can take on their enterprise workloads. And so what we did with Google is, in our partnership, was based our solution with Google on this technology from Accenture that we'll go into today. Let's move to the next slide. So today we've taken our private cloud technology. It is available in US East with Google in the same data center GCP is. We have plans to expand and offer the same private cloud capability adjacent to Google Cloud Platform in London and Frankfurt and other locations as we go through time. The idea is many of the reasons that the enterprise customers can't get out of those data centers is they have a lot of large applications and workloads which will take them a significant amount of time to refactor onto cloud technologies. Things like Oracle application, Oracle suites, large SAP landscapes with monster HANA databases. Those are really big kind of items that, number one, harder and longer to refactor the cloud. Not necessarily you can't do it. And number two, for maybe performance or regulatory or compliance reasons, it's easier for them to leave it in the data center for a while. So this option allows them to take those Oracle workloads and have them sitting in the data center less than 1 millisecond away from GCP and in a private cloud that will run that for them. And we can run Oracle workloads and manage that for the clients. We can run SAP landscapes and manage that for the clients, up to the largest in the world on this platform. And we can run bare metal for the clients as well. So if they have a particular application, we're starting to run into things that are 20 to 30 years old the enterprise still has, where they're just want a bare metal server and they're going to run it on this platform, but they want it next to the cloud provider because they're moving the majority of their applications to the cloud provider. Next slide. So I don't know if you've heard this term. We've been using this at Accenture quite a bit. We talk about hybrid cloud, which this certainly is, but this is taking the hybrid cloud or private cloud model to the next level, and it's cloud adjacency, meaning we're taking the private cloud technology, sticking it less than 1 millisecond away from GCP from a networking perspective, and offering clients the ability to run any enterprise workload that they have directly on this private cloud. From an Oracle perspective, it actually is very advantageous for the customer with respect to the Oracle licenses, because Oracle, as many of you know, if you move your Oracle licenses to other cloud providers, some of the other ones out there I won't mention that compete against GCP, Oracle will double the license costs to run it in the cloud. When you run it in this private cloud, at the end of the day, it's managed colo, which customers have been doing for years and years. So their licenses are completely transferable to run in this model without getting hit with double license charges, which makes this very financially attractive, because not only do they get out of the model of running it in their own data centers, but those licenses they can still use on this platform. So we get back over to the results side of this. Managed, purpose-built, very fast performance for these applications, in many cases for the clients who are running on old hardware stacks. They're moving to this, which is the latest, greatest technology from our partners in this platform, from HPE, Arista Networking, Nimble Storage. We use VMware as our base in this infrastructure, including a huge amount of management and security that Accenture has built over the years for Accenture's use, for our own private cloud, and private clouds that we run all around the world for clients are built into this platform, so very secure. And it also moves into a model for the customers that's much more flexible, right? So they're paying for use of this infrastructure on a monthly basis. It will show up in their GCP bill as a monthly charge for use of these services. Support will come from Google, level 1 support, and Accenture will be level 2 and level 3 for this offering in the marketplace. So you can see as we're trying to make this a more integrated experience for Google clients to quickly leverage and be able to get access to this infrastructure for their enterprise applications like Oracle, SAP, VMware, or anything else, because it's very, very flexible. So with that, let me turn it over to Firas, who's going to kind of dive down into the architecture, how this works, and then show you a demo live of the infrastructure of us on GCP communicating with an Oracle database on the platform.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Hi, everybody. So I'm Firas Ghantous. I'm part of Accenture's Google Business Group, the AGBG, and I manage an offering that's all around getting your data into GCP. This is one part of that offering, right? So as Dan said, this is about getting those workloads that have data that you want to get into GCP to do analytics or AI or ML against, but you have some blocker to running it in GCP, be that regulatory, be it performance, be it a commercial issue. We're offering our AOPC in those same data centers as GCP so that you can get that data there. As Dan said, we're connected within 1 millisecond. We manage all the networking. There's no data egress costs between the region that we deploy this and GCP and AOPC. So obviously, if you were to take it from one region to another, you pay the typical networking cost of GCP. But right now, for example, in US East 4, where we're deployed, you can run as many workloads in US East 4, connect it to anything running in here, and there's no data egress costs at all. So a little bit about the AOPC at a functional level. What we have here are, it's comprised of kind of 3 distinct areas. The middle area is the management racks. Everything has redundancy in there, so there's 2 management racks that have all the software that manages the environment. So that's your provisioning software, your monitoring software, your network security software. Everything in there runs in those management racks. On the right side, we have the virtual side. So this is just a large VMware farm. You could potentially run Anthos. We all heard about that this week. You could run Anthos on there. You can run individual VMware machines. For example, if you've got an older application that's very chatty with a database, your Oracle database, and even 1 millisecond degrades the performance, you can then run those in a cluster or in an individual VMware guest on that virtual side. On the left side is the physical bare metal. So that's where we deploy the high performance compute infrastructure to support things like 20 terabyte SAP HANA databases or your Oracle databases. You can run, and we'll get into the Oracle kind of standard landscapes in a little bit. The reason that we're putting Oracle on this side, as Dan alluded to, is the Oracle licensing restrictions, right? If you take a database and you run it in a VMware farm, you're gonna have to license all the physical cores, whether or not those are available to your guest. So we're taking Oracle and deploying it on bare metal so that you have a license cost that's commensurate to the cores that you have. So you have a couple options there, right? You'll get some, if you need 50 cores or 40 cores or whatever, you get a physical box, and then there'll be some smaller ones that use OVM to virtualize, so you can get 2 or 4 cores. We also have the ability to configure all of our databases within Oracle Grid and Oracle Rack configuration. So you can have 2 nodes, 3 nodes, 4 nodes. Again, that's there for HA as well as performance. So that's a little bit of the functional overview. Can we go to the next slide, please? We alluded this earlier, so around the licensing. This is list price, right? So just keep that in mind. But we wanted to make sure that we showed a comparison, right? If you've got an Oracle database that's running on-prem and you're considering moving it to the cloud, if you were to move to one of the other public cloud providers, that 12-core license that you have on-prem would double in price. Because ours is bare metal and/or we're using Oracle technology for virtualization, it's the same EULA cost. That does not change. Our model is a BYOL, so you do maintain that relationship with Oracle for support and buy the license, but you're able to transfer that license over to this environment and license your database. We'll have time for questions later if anybody's got questions. Can we move on? So then, as far as how we deployed in US East 4 right now, as I said earlier, we've got 2 management racks for redundancy to ensure that we have availability. We use all HPE hardware in our environment, so we've got nimble storage. Everything comes with solid state storage, both on the physical side as well as the virtual side. Obviously, there's virtualization for that storage, but it's still underlying hardware is HPE nimble. And then we've got the HPE switches and network gear at the top of rack that we all manage to segregate network between the different workloads that are running on the environment. Move on. Keep going. So then, we've worked with Google to come up with a couple of different use cases. One use case is an SAP landscape, the other one is Oracle, and the other one is individual VMware guests. Because this is our own hardware and it's physical bare metal, we're able to host any workload that can run on an x86 chipset, because we're underlying HPE hardware. But we have defined and will be available in Marketplace by next week, specific use cases just as guidance for customers that are interested in this solution. So the first one that we'll talk about a little bit is SAP environments. So what we're showing here is kind of 4 landscapes that cover production, test, QA, and DR for SAP landscapes that we can deploy. Obviously, the small and the medium are things that you can run in GCP right now, right? Where you're certified up to 4 terabyte HANA. I think 6 terabytes is coming this summer and 8 in the fall. What's interesting is when you get to the large and the extra large, where we can scale up to 20 terabyte HANA databases and scale out to 64 terabytes using HPE Superdome. So this enables the largest enterprises to run the biggest SAP environments on bare metal connected to GCP. In certain instances, you can even run part of your SAP landscape in GCP connecting to that HANA or maybe underlying Oracle database that manages the data in SAP. Depending on those applications and how they perform, we see customers doing that. So that's an interesting option. And again, the idea is we're getting your data into GCP so that you can leverage all the great things around data and analytics that GCP enables. Move on. So around our first set of Oracle offerings are on physical environments. So it goes from 12 core, 24 core, and 56 core. Again, as I said earlier, all of these are available in grid configurations as well as rack configurations. They all come with they're all backed up. I'll talk about it a little bit later when we're doing the provisioning script. What happens is when you order this, you tell us how many nodes you need, you'll give us some information, and then we'll automatically provision them and give you access to them, and we'll show that in the demo. These are the 3 t-shirt sizes for Oracle that we're offering standard through Marketplace. And then we also have smaller virtual Oracle servers starting at 2 cores and go up to 16 cores. This uses OVM again, right? So that you can honor that EULA license for the core cost. And the operating system for all of the Oracle environments are either Red Hat Enterprise Linux or Oracle Enterprise Linux. Those are the 2 options for operating systems. Again, because I keep saying again, excuse me, because it's bare metal, you do have an option if you have an older version of Oracle that's maybe not supported. We talked to a customer that had Oracle version 9, or you want a different operating system, we are able to give you a bare metal box, and then you will configure that box to meet your needs. At that point, some of our support standard services around backup and monitoring no longer in effect because it's a non-standard deployment, but it still enables you to get some of those older environments and workloads running into GCP and connect there. You still get all the network benefits, you still get all the connectivity. It's just that some of our management services will scale back a little bit because of the version control. And then finally, individual VMware guests. Again, this is really meant for if you've got an app or a web tier that's connected to that database and it's just an older configuration so that 1 millisecond you still have performance degradation, or you're not ready to hop on a GCE and you've got a couple of VMware loads you want to run, we can host those here. So now we're going to go through our demonstration. So I'll just talk you through it while Matt lines it up. So the first thing is how you order in Marketplace. So if you go to Marketplace, it's a tab. If you go to Marketplace, you'll search for Accenture and you'll see the 3 tiles that we have on there. And one of them is Oracle, one's SAP, and one's VMware Guest. So then okay, sorry, there you go, yep. So when you select that, you'll see that it's informational where you click Learn More. That's our initial integration into Marketplace. Due to some limitations about the ability to add more subscriptions, so let's say you bought 1 Oracle server and you came back 3 months later and you needed another one, we manage the order through a site that Accenture sets up. So as we progress our integration, you'll start to see this actually in Google Console. It'll be in a left-hand menu eventually, but right now, this is the process for ordering. So if you click on Oracle, and then you click on Learn More, which is that link right down there, it'll take you to a screen. In this screen, you'll start to enter your customer information. So this is the contact information we need so that we reach out to you to know who to send the IP address to, and things like that. Once you enter that information, you'll click Proceed to Design, and this is where we capture the technical information. So that didn't work, did it? Contact phone. You got to put phone number in. So one of the things that we'll capture from you is network information. So the way this works is we've got a GCP project that Accenture administers that's set up in GCP, and when we create VPC networks for each of the customers running in this environment. What we do is we need to capture network information from yourself so that we can peer our VPC networks. That enables us to segregate all network traffic to ensure that your workloads don't ever conflict with anybody else's workloads. We also want to capture in the network information your IP range that you want us to allocate to these servers, to your bare metal physical servers, right? We're not going to guess what the IP is. We don't want to conflict with an existing IP range that you have. So in that information, do you want to click on Enter Network Info? The button at the top. You'll get, let's come up here in a second, you'll see where you'll enter the IP range, your VPC information, things like that. You can hit back or do that. Once you've submitted your order, somebody from Accenture will reach out to you and confirm that information and then actually start the VPC peer. As you know, you got to do a VPC peer from both projects, so that, right, we'll connect to your VPC, you'll connect to yours, we'll ensure that that peering worked and all the routes have transferred, and we confirm that that works. And on the other screen, Nope, if you could, can you hit back on the ordering screen? Thanks. Just down at the bottom, hit back. Thanks. So this is where in this instance, we're gathering information on the Oracle environment. So you'll tell us, what the server size that you want through what's available, the number of nodes, do you need them in a cluster or not, all that information, right? How much storage do you want, et cetera. So we gather all that information, and then if you were to hit next, which we won't show, and you'll hit submit order, then that's completed, it comes to Accenture, and as I said, somebody reaches out to the contact information. This is manual right now only because of the VPC peering that needs to happen. Once that's done, all of the provisioning is automated, which we're going to show next. When we get all your information, that's that QuickTime video, right? We start to provision the Oracle database. And that's all run through what we call DDI, which is data-driven infrastructure. This is an Accenture. It's a separate window. You want to run the DDI video?
Yeah. It's embedded in the slide.
No, it is not. It's the QuickTime.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Accenture, as Dan said, we've had this private cloud out in the marketplace for a long time. And over the time, we've developed our own orchestration and provisioning. We leverage, of course, Jenkins and VRO from VMware and all these things. But what we've created is a patented tool set that allows us to develop what we call application fingerprints for complex applications. So if you saw earlier, I talked about the SAP landscapes, right? We showed those landscapes. So we can actually automate the build out of a full end-to-end SAP test landscape that includes all of your witness servers, your database servers, the application servers, everything, so that with the data load so that it's ready to go, all in one fell swoop. So what we're showing here are all the different Jenkins scripts and all the things that interact into building out on the bare metal, the Oracle server that we're going to connect to in the next slide. This is all based on like I said, our thing, what's called DDI. It includes all your operational software, so all the databases, everything that we deploy, standard backups is incremental nightly, and every week it's a full backup, and then we retain that for 30 days. Part of the ordering process is you'll let us know if that meets your needs, or you need longer retention, less retention, maybe you don't want us to back it up at all, you're going to do it all yourself, all of that stuff. So all of those things feed into these scripts, and then we provision it the way that you've ordered it. You want to hit dismiss here?
Which one?
Dismiss. No, close that. This pop-up. Sorry. Hey, I should be here right now, by the way. I think that's what that says. Okay, you want to switch to the console? So I don't think you guys are really interested in watching a bunch of Jenkins scripts, although I can keep that running. It's about an hour and a half long. All right, so on the console, as I said earlier, right, the first thing we need to do is connect our networks, right, to do the VPC peering. So this project is meant to mimic your own project on GCP, right? This is not the internal Accenture project that manages the AOPC. So within your project, you're going to create a VPC network with a subnet, right? You'll have communicated that to us in the order form. And we go through the VPC peering on the left side and connect our VPC peer that we've developed, our VPC network that we've developed for your environment to your VPC. And that allows us, as I said, to segregate all network traffic and have the routes flow. All right. So then, once that's done, what you're able to do is if you go into the compute GCE, when you create a new server, a VM on GCP, you're going to select the network that you build that on. Go to the compute engine, there you go. So I've already built out a Windows server just so that we have a GUI to show you, but as I said earlier, when you build that, right, you're going to select the network, it gets assigned an IP range within the range that you've given us, right? And then there's obviously the public IP to access that. So if we go to the RDP now for that Windows server, It's already downloaded. So if you just go to here.
Here?
Yep, click twice. No, click twice. No. There. Sorry.
Did it come up already? Nope, there it is.
The password should still be there, hopefully. So this is a Windows machine in GCP. You just saw that earlier in the console. And if you go to Toad, we're using Toad here just to show, we're going to connect to the database. The IP of the database is 10.200.0.12. Just got to enter the password. Let's hope we got that right. All right. So now we're in the database. We're going to just upload a quick Excel file into that database under import. Here.
Is it schema
Under
bar?
import.
Got it.
And then third one down, import table data. And then go down, select under tables in the drop down. No, the one below it, sorry. The first one. And then you just have to move it up. Here, can I?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So I'm going to select an Excel file that's just a simple CSV. And I'm going to trim that last column. It is now uploaded. This is all the data that's in there. And if we go to database or sessions, where was schema browser?
Data right there. Second.
There, thank you. So you can see there that there's the data that we uploaded. So this is the functioning Oracle database that's running on the AOPC, connected into GCP. And when we said it's a fast connection, if we switch to the ping, so we're pinging that same IP address, 10.200.0.22, and you can see that, I should look at the screen, it is 1 millisecond away. So this is still going through the rack network, so it goes up to the top of rack, goes through a firewall that we have, through the segregated VPC, back into GCP, hitting a VM within, should be less than 1 millisecond. I think ping doesn't really show that, but at most it's 1 millisecond. So that should enable you to run most of your application tier or your web tier in GCP and still get good performance back to hit that database. As I said earlier, there's no data egress, so you can suck all that data into BigQuery, Bigtable, run ML AI against it, any of the cool data stuff that Google has without data egress costs, without managing an Oracle database, getting it out of your data center and into GCP. All right. So I think,
Back to slides.
yeah, back to slides, please. So that's our demo. Our next slide. Okay. So if you've got any questions, obviously you can ask here. We'll be around. You can email agbg-mps@accenture.com. That'll come to Dan, Matt, or myself, where we can help you out with any of your questions. You can also go to the Google Cloud Marketplace. That'll be live next week, and start an order form. That'll also get you connected with us. I think this will be shown on that contact information will be shown on that first page. A little bit of one more thing about the ordering I forgot to mention earlier. After you submit the order, when you're ready to proceed, what will happen is we'll send you what's called private URL pricing. Again, that just has to do with our ability to be able to add nodes in the future should you want to do that, things like that. So we send you a URL right to somebody from the company. They click on that, and that's how you execute the order. So again, it's Dan who spoke earlier. My name is Firas, and that's Matt.